Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel SF with AK. This is Aman Kumar and I am a 22 times certified Salesforce developer. This is part 3 of our summer 26 series. If you have been following along, part 1 covered 6 broad features and part 2 was all about flows and part 3 is the most varied of the 3. 7 features split across 3 areas: reports and dashboards, sharing and visibility, and the LWC developer experience. There's something here for analytics, something for admins, and a couple of really nice wins for developers. Let's get into it. Quick agenda for today. We are going to discuss 7 features in 3 buckets. First bucket, reports and dashboards. We have 3 updates there. We can embed Lightning Web Components on dashboard. This is now GA. You can now have 2 row-level formulas in a report instead of 1. And there's a new security setting that disables formulas in Excel exports. A small change, but big impact on anyone who handles user supplied data. Second bucket, sharing and visibility. We have 2 updates here. There is a new checkbox on the queues that lets you stop oversharing of the reports up the role hierarchy. And shared list views can now be edited by the users with a new permission to manage that. Third bucket, LWC developer experience. 2 new features which are now GA. Single component preview, also called local dev, is finally GA, and the LWC State Management goes GA. A first-class way to share reactive state between components without an event bus. Before we dive in, let's do a quick recap of part 1 and 2 for anyone who is just joining. In part 1, we covered 6 broad features. Web console, the new VS Code for Web IDE inside the org itself, no local install is needed. Then data table lookups that show record names instead of IDs. Then the new radio button group component, which allows to do multiple things in single component. Then collapsing fold paths for a cleaner canvas. Then scheduled triggered flow, which allows us to now set the batch size instead of 200 record default. And the new field access tab in Object Manager. In part 2, we discussed about 7 features: date operators in decisions, is today, is anniversary of, and a few others. Then formula mode and transform mode for action input parameters. Then the removal of the toggle for Apex action optional parameters. Then there are new components that support the styling options in flow. Then we can upload the static resource directly inside the flow itself. No need to go to setup and upload the image there, get the name and add it to flow. We can directly upload the image inside the screen flow itself. Then there's a deployment fix. Email templates that used to store the email template ID now will store the developer name, and it will be easier to deploy because the IDs will change but the names will not while deploying. If you missed either of the videos, the link of both are in the description and in the cards. Let's get into the part 3. Okay, the first feature, embedding LWC in dashboard, is now GA. Here's why this matters. Standard dashboard widgets, charts, table, matrices are great for obvious cases. But the moment you need something interactive or a heat map or a Kanban view or custom drill down that standard widgets don't support, you are stuck. Until now, you'd build an LWC on the page somewhere alongside the dashboard and the layout never quite felt right. Summer 26 lets you drop an LWC straight into the dashboard canvas. It resizes like a widget, refreshes like a widget. To the user, it's just look like another widget. To the developer, it's whatever you want it to be. One constraint to know, you can only add one LWC widget per Lightning dashboard. Useful for now. In future, we might have more. Let me show you how to add that in the dashboard itself in the org. Let's go to dashboards. Open the demo dashboard. I have already added an LWC component. Let's click on edit. We can remove it. Let's add another. And you can see before the update, this was just chart table, text and images. Now we have an option for Lightning Web Component as well. Click on this and it will show a list of all the components that we have in the org. Let's click on this and click next. Now we can choose the theme just like any other widget. We can give a title, let's say demo dashboard or demo accounts. And now click on add. We can increase the size as needed. It can be all 12 columns or multiple rows. And click on save. Let's click on done and we are done. Now we have the widget inside the dashboard itself. We can add multiple things here and As you can see, it's interactive. I click on previous next buttons that I have from the LWC itself, and it works. So it's not just like charts. You can add tables, you can add different types of UI for the users and add it to the dashboard itself. Let's go back to the PPT. Let's move to the next feature. Okay, now we can have two row level formulas in the reports itself, not just one, two. So before the summer 26 update, we used to have a limit of one formula per report. And if we need to add another, we needed to create a custom formula field and then add it to the report itself. Now Salesforce has increased that limit from 1 to 2, and now it will be more useful in the reports. It will have less clutter, less custom formula fields just for the reporting purpose. Let's see this directly in the org itself. Okay, let's open a report, click on formula report, and as you can see, I have added one formula here. Click on edit, and I can still add one more row level formula here. Click on this, I can give it a name, choose a type. It can be anything. Let's just say account name. We want nothing fancy. Validate and done. We have a second formula here. So that is how it will work, and it's less custom formula fields, which is a great improvement. Let's get back to the PPT. Let's move to the next feature. Okay, this one is a security feature in the report itself. So here's the problem. If you export a report to CSV and someone's open it in Excel, the cell value that starts with an equal sign, a plus sign, a minus sign, or an @ symbol gets evaluated as a formula. And most of the time, it's harmless. Maybe a value like -12% shows up as a formula error, but sometimes it's not harmless. CSV injection is a real attack pattern. Someone enters a malicious string into the Salesforce field that will get exported and opened in Excel, where it can trigger a DDE command, exfiltrate the data, or worse. Well, Summer 26 ships a setting that auto-prefix those characters with an apostrophe on export. Excel sees the apostrophe and treats the value as plain text. The formula doesn't execute, and in the report, it will be same. It changes nothing. You will see the same value that you see on the report. The change only applies when you export the report to a CSV file. Let me show you how it works. Let's get back to the org. Let's go to setup and first see the setting. Let's go to report and dashboard settings. And here we have a new checkbox called disable formulas in exported reports. And we have some values here which are by default. You can add new values if needed. Now let's disable this and see how it was before the update. Let's hit save. So as you can see in my report, this account has a description which says equal 5 plus 4, which is a plain text in Salesforce. But let's see what happens if we export this. So let's click save and run. Let's export it. Click on detail only. Export it as a CSV and export. And as you can see in the CSV, when I opened it in Excel, the formula got evaluated to 9, which is 5 plus 4. But let's update the setting and let's see if it affects something. Let's check this checkbox again. Hit save. And we'll export the report again. Detail only, export as CSV, export. And as you can see, the equal sign was prefixed with an apostrophe and the formula was not evaluated. It shows it's a plain text, 5 plus 4. And in the report, it's still the same, 5 plus 4 with an equal sign. It does not change anything. For the users, they will never know if the value was added or not. It will be same for them. It's just a security setting that an admin can enable. Let's get back to the PPT. Let's move on to the next feature. Well, now we can have queues that does not overshare the records up the role hierarchy. Before this update, it was not possible to stop that oversharing, but now we can. The problem was when you assign a record to a queue, let's say a tier 1 support queue, with a couple of frontline agents. By default, every user above those agents in the role hierarchy can also see the record. Their team lead, their manager, the VP of service, multiple people end up with access to a single record where only 2 of them actually need to work on it. Well, that has been the behavior since basically forever. And in the big orgs with deep hierarchies, It means larger sharing tables and security boundaries that aren't as tight as they look on paper. Well, Summer 26 adds a checkbox that grants access using hierarchies, makes it optional. You can turn it off or you can enable that based on each queue. It doesn't need to be org-wide. It can be org-wide. There's a sharing setting as well for this that allows you to uncheck this or check this for all the new queues, and it will be the same by default that we will discuss, but you can control that on a queue level. Now let's see how it works in the org. Let's go back to the org. Okay, let's go to setup. Let's first see the org-wide setting. We will go to sharing settings. Let's search for other settings. And in other settings, you will see there's a checkbox here. Grant access using hierarchy by default in new queues. So if we check this checkbox, all the new queues will grant access using hierarchies by default. We can disable that when creating the queue, but by default, the checkbox will be checked. If we uncheck this checkbox, it will be the opposite. So right now it's unchecked. Let's create a new queue. Let's go to queues, locate a new queue, let's say anything. And as you can see, the checkbox is not checked here because it was unchecked here. Now let's check this one and see if it affects anything. So check this, hit save, and let's cancel this and start again. And as you can see, the checkbox is now checked. We can still disable this for a particular queue, but by default, it will grant access using hierarchies. So now you have access that will work for org-wide, or you can do that on a queue-based. This only works for the new queues. For the existing ones, you will need to go and uncheck this for any existing queues. Let's get back to the PPT. Let's see the next feature. Okay, shared list views are finally now have a permission which will allow the user to only edit the shared list views they have, not all the public list views. The current behavior is when you share a list view with another user, they can see it, but they can't edit it. And to allow them to edit it, you'll need to give them the permission which will allow them to edit all the public list views. So the standard pattern was everyone clones a shared list view, gives it their own name, and then make the tweaks. Well, Summer 26 fixes that with a new org level checkbox plus a new permission. You can check the checkbox, grant the permission org-wide to all the users who has the permission to create and customize list view will able to edit the shared list views. But if you want to have a more granular access, you can uncheck that and use a permission set to assign that to a particular set of users only. Even in the permission set, you will need to have the same permission, manage shared list view and the create and customize list view. Both the permissions are needed to edit the shared list views. Let's see this directly in the org. Okay, let's go to user interface. And in here, we will have shared list view editing. So if I check this, it will allow all the users with create and customize list view permission to edit the shared list views. But if I uncheck this and I want to control it using permission sets, let's go to permission sets. And let's find the same setting. You can see manage shared list views. So before this update, we needed to assign this permission, manage public list views. But now we can assign manage shared list views. They can only edit the list views shared with them and not all public list views. So it's more control and more restricted permission. Let's get back to the PPT. Let's see the next feature. Okay, the single component preview, also called local dev for LWC, has been in beta for a while. Now it just hit GA in summer 26. Today, when you're working on LWC in VS Code, the loop is brutal. You need to make a change, run a deploy command, wait for it to deploy, refresh the lightning page, see if change worked or not. Each cycle might take just 20-30 seconds, and you say that it's just 20 seconds. But when you do that on a regular basis, it's hectic. So instead of that, we now have local dev that runs on a server on a local machine that renders a single component which we are working on when we save the file. The preview updates in milliseconds. And the cherry on the top, the wires, Apex methods, scope modules, they all resolve against the connected org. So let me show you directly in the VS Code. Okay, I'm in the VS Code. Let's say I open this account wizard. There's an sftx command that we can use, open in lightning preview. Click on this, and the preview loads directly in the VS Code itself. And as you can see, it extracted my accounts, the revenue, all the fields that I needed. Now, if I make any changes on the HTML side, let's say instead of the total accounts, I say after editing. And as soon as I hit save, it will update. So that's very fast. Now you don't need to deploy it. You don't need to refresh the page. It will work directly in the VS Code itself. Similarly, let's try with another component. Let's say this one. And as soon as I clicked on this, the preview updates. When I was in account dashboard visit, it was showing me that component. Now when I opened a new one, it automatically refreshes to the new component. When I go back, it will change the preview back to the old component. So that's pretty fast, and I think it would be very helpful when we work in the VS Code and we need to deploy it, hard refresh, and all those things. Now we can just directly test it out in the VS Code itself. Let's get back to the PPT. Let's move on to the next feature. Okay, the last feature for today, LWC State Management, is now GA. And this is kind of thing that quietly raises the ceiling on what you can build. Now, to propagate an event from child component to parent component or the other way around, you don't need to use the PubSub API or custom events. You can directly use a state manager, which will hold the state of all the variables. And when you update something in parent, it will go to the child. If you update something in child, it will update in parent. Well, for communication between parent-child components, today the standard pattern is custom events. In the state manager, you define a state with Atmos and computed values, and any component can read it from context. When the state changes, every reader re-renders automatically. No event bus, no parent-child wiring, no extra fetches, all in single component. Let me show you. So let's get back to org. Let's open an account. I've added that to account page. So this is the new component, LWC State Management Demo, and we have two child components, counter display and counter controls. Both talk to the parent component. When I edit something in counter control, it will update the counter display. And I'm not using any events here. Let me show you directly in the web console. So the counter app is our parent app, which shows or hosts both the components. We are not passing anything from here. In a standard way, we need to pass the fields from parent to child and listen to the events that are happening in the child. So we need to add an event listener on the parent itself. And on the child components, if I go to JS, I'm not passing an event here. As you can see, I'm just changing the values directly in the state manager. Same for the other component. No events, just updating the value of the counter and state manager. And in our state manager, we are doing all the heavy lifting. So whenever someone change any value, it updates the values here and return the count, double count is positive, and all these things from here. So that is how, without using any PubSub or custom events, we can communicate between different components and it works. Let's go back to the PPT. Well, that is everything for today. Quick recap. We can now embed LWC in a dashboard. As of today, we can only add one LWC in one dashboard. The limit might change in future. Now we can add 2 row level formula per report, which was increased from 1. That means fewer custom fields and less clutter on the data model. Then we talked about we can disable formula in CSV exports. Salesforce will add an apostrophe to the values like equal, plus, minus, at the rate, and any other symbol that you can add that will be exported to CSV, and it will not allow it to pre-calculate the value. It will just show it as a plain text. Then we talked about how we can stop the oversharing of query codes up the role tree. Then we discussed about a permission which will allow the users to edit the shared list view only. Then the single component preview, which went GA, and the last LWC state management, which is allow us to talk between 2 components without using custom events. Well, that is part 3. Thank you for sticking with me. So far, we have discussed about 20 features. I would love to know which one is your favorite. Drop it in the comments. If you want a follow-up video on any specific feature, comment that too. I'm always looking for ideas. If you found the video helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.